Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. You caught me halfway through my final sip of coffee before we start the broadcast. Here we are. It is Thursday, February 17th, and as always, we're gathered here to take a look at the headlines from our city, our state, and our country, to answer any questions, to listen to your news, to your comments about what's going on in our city, so we can all, in turn, have a better connected life living here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English-speaking locals. It is a pleasure to get together with you every single day, and today is no exception. We have interesting news today. We have a lot of news about Mexican politics, and this whole issue that has been going on between the president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, and the community of journalists that report in our country. And we also have interesting news about a dear friend of mine that is performing at a local restaurant, and I'm going to give you compelling reasons to go check her out. But before we get started with everything, I want to put a poll on the screen, and please confirm that you can see it and that you have actually responded it. The question is, how much of Jalisco's tourism revenue comes from Puerto Vallarta? And for those of you that cannot see the poll, we have three choices: 70%, that is 70, 50%, or 30%. So take a wild guess, either by answering the poll or by putting a comment on your comments if you cannot see the poll online right now. Before we start with the news, of course, we'd like to welcome anyone that is new to the broadcast. If you're new, please let us know by adding the word new in your comment. If you have something truly important to share with us, the poll is on the screen. Goody. Okay, well, let me take a quick look at the results, if I can get to them. And interesting. Okay, we'll get to the results before we break for the weather. So let us get started with our news. Oh my God, this is so fascinating. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Anyhow, let's get started with the news, and we'll take it from there. Okay, previously in Mexico, if we were a Netflix series, we would start by previously with AMLO. As you know, AMLO are the initials of our president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. So we will continue to refer to him as AMLO, as we have in the past. A few years ago, we mentioned the ongoing rift between AMLO and members of the press, and particularly with one specific journalist, Carlos Loret de Mola. Then we mentioned how Loret de Mola exposed a questionable situation with AMLO's eldest son, and his living situation in Texas. He lives in that state, married to an American woman, but he was living in a home owned by a former Pemex contractor, a multi-million-dollar residence. When this came to light, AMLO lashed back publicly, and he's had a beef with Loret de Mola and vice versa for several years. But he lashed back by exposing the journalist's private earnings on Mexican television in one of his morning press conferences. The journalists in general then complained about this and got together on Twitter to raise awareness of the bigger picture, which has very little to do with how much money Loret de Mola makes. It has much more to do with the fact that journalists in Mexico are getting killed. 150 since 2000, and in this year, 1 month and a half of 2021, 5 journalists have been killed in Mexico for doing the job they have been charged to do. Now, AMLO did not back down. He not only did he expose his estimate or his source of information about how much money Loret de Mola makes, he actually asked the government to dig into his income tax reports, among other things. But he's a private citizen, so it's illegal for the government to go and look into this so that the president can share this information in public. AMLO argued that it's not about Loret de Mola, it's about individuals amassing large amounts of money in Mexico while many people in our country live in poverty. And then he argued that journalists have a moral obligation to reveal their earnings, despite the fact that they are private citizens. Of course, the government gave the president the information that he requested, but he told the president was told, you cannot reveal this information in public. So 2 days ago, a large group of journalists went to Congress to demand protection from the government. And yesterday, and I saw this right after the broadcast from yesterday. Yesterday, AMLO gave his morning press conference just as usual. He does this like at 8:30 in the morning or so. And when he was finished, usually he opens the floor to questions from the journalists that are routinely attending his daily press conferences. And much to our president's surprise, a journalist representing the rest stood up and announced that in solidarity, they would have no questions for the president. Imagine this, and the video is on YouTube. It's actually quite awkward that you come to our president and you say, you know what? We don't like what's going on with journalists in Mexico, and in solidarity, we don't have any questions for you. Ouch. So, of course, AMLO had to say the final word, saying that his administration does not murder journalists. And that may be the case, but of course, his administration is not doing a great job at preventing the murders, but that's a different story. Meanwhile, at some point during this whole kerfuffle, AMLO did say, well, my children are old enough to defend themselves. And of course, his eldest son, who's the one involved in the rental fiasco in Texas, Jose Ramon, made statements to defend himself and his wife, arguing that they have nothing to do with politics and that he's been working for a U.S. company named KEI Partners as a legal counselor. It just seems too weird that KEI Partners had apparently not touched their website for some time until this past weekend when all these things came to light. And who owns KEI Partners? Well, you'd think this is a Netflix series. The company is owned by 3 principals, 2 of which are Erika and Ivan Chávez. And Erika and Ivan Chávez are son and daughter of Daniel Chávez Morán. And who is he? None other than the owner of Vidanta. And although he claims, the son of our president, he claims he has no ties with politics, according to our president, his father, he has an honor title as supervisor for the Maya train. Although, of course, he doesn't charge any money for that, said the president. Meanwhile, the Mexican whistleblowing, oh my God, I'm going to get myself killed. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. Meanwhile, the Mexican whistleblowing organization Mexicanos contra la Corrupción y la Impunidad, or Mexicans Against Corruption and Impunity, has revealed that Vidanta, the Vidanta that we all know and love, or maybe we don't love, I don't know if we do or don't, Vidanta received a 15-year concession extension to the beach in Nuevo Vallarta, plus the construction of a cable car over the Ameca River in 2020 from our president's administration. And that happened on the same year that the family's KEI Partners company hired the president's son so he could get a green card and get married and live in the United States. So the plot thickens. All I can say about all of this is we have a saying in Mexico that says, don't do good things that seem to be bad things. And that is my latest report on this situation that indeed does not affect us on our daily lives all that much, but it is really, really important information that is keeping a lot of people wide-eyed in our city and certainly in our country. Moving to other news, and all this information, of course, is backed by articles that I'm going to share in the show notes as always. Moving to other news, the city's Department of the Environment captured a big one. A crocodile that was 3.3 meters long was captured along the beach axis next to Los Tules. This is a beach axis that we've walked a number of times. The specimen is in good health and has been relocated to a safer place. I also wanted to let you know that we learned today from the Secretary of Culture that Mexico has been celebrating since 1993. Mexico has been celebrating Mexican Inventor Day on February 17. Why? Because that is the date in which Guillermo González Camarena, who we see here on this photograph, was born. And who was he? Well, Guillermo González Camarena, a Mexican inventor, was the inventor of color television, no less. Who knew? And now, before we continue, let us go back to that poll, and I'll let you know why I am asking. Interestingly enough, and I'm going to put the results in video, 59% of you think that 70% of Jalisco's tourism revenue comes from Puerto Vallarta. 50% think it's 34%. And 30% think it's 5%. In other words, the vast majority of you, and I'm going to take a quick look at your comments, the vast majority of you are under the impression that Puerto Vallarta is responsible for 70% of the state's tourism revenue. And I'm going to reveal the answer. And before I do, I want to let you know why I'm asking this. I am asking this because, interestingly enough, a lot of people here, whether it is lawyers or politicians or decision makers or even entitled business owners, are under the impression that the universe, and I'm exaggerating to make a point, the universe should bend over to whatever Puerto Vallarta wants and needs because we are the tourism generator in the state. But the reality is that Puerto Vallarta is responsible for only 36% of tourism revenue. At least last year, that was the number. And that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, as much as we'd like to toot our own horn and think that the shit doesn't smell in Puerto Vallarta when it comes to capturing tourism revenue, Jalisco is blessed with a huge number of great tourism destinations, not only our capital city, but a number of pueblos mágicos, the town of Tequila, and so forth and so on. So when we think as Vallartenses that we should receive some kind of special treatment in our city because we are the big tourism generator of the state, well, turns out we're not. Let's look at the weather. The weather says it's sunny out, and of course it is. It's 26 degrees, feels like 27. Humidity is 52%, and our temperature in Fahrenheit degrees is 78 degrees. Our weather forecast for today is clear through the day with a high temperature of 30 and a low temperature of 17. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll enjoy a clear day with a high temperature of 30, low temperature of 17. And Saturday, mostly cloudy through the day, high temperature of 29, low temperature of 18. And some of you seem surprised about the revenue percentage. And I think it's good to know those facts more accurately, and that'll help us better understand how the government at state level comes up to some of the decisions that they make. I want to very quickly send a little bit of love for a dear friend of mine, Perla Alarcón. Perla Alarcón is one of the best local musicians in town. Perla Alarcón is an amazing singer, songwriter, guitar player. I've had the pleasure of knowing her for a number of years, and I had the pleasure of collaborating with her during the December 30th concert at Teatro Vallarta. And I was so happy to learn that Perla is now working at Barrio Bistro on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday at 7:30, not only can you enjoy a wonderful meal at a wonderful Versalles restaurant, but now you can also enjoy her live. And if you're not familiar with her music, I suspect because of the photograph that she's just playing with her guitar, and that should be a nice, comfortable evening. Although, if you want to learn more about her music, I'm going to give you the link to her Spotify page so that you can take a look and a listen to all of her music. I know that next Wednesday, if everything is aligned, I'll probably go and enjoy her live at Barrio Bistro. I love her music, and she's a great human being, a great mother, and a great spouse. And now I have a little bit of a surprise for you. Yesterday I was complaining, or sharing, not complaining. I was sharing my anxiety and just eagerness to get this thing removed. And finally yesterday I said to myself, if I don't go out and do something that I used to do, I'm just going to go crazy. So guess what happened yesterday afternoon? Oh yes, nothing fancy, but I took a Versalles mini walk reluctantly because I'm concerned about just having one free hand to handle my equipment. I don't want to trip. I don't want to do anything. And now we're walking down Francisco Villa. We're going to cross the street shortly to go into Versalles and show you some of the restaurants where I've been eating lately because I can't cook for myself. But I want to point out this particular construction supply company that occupies an entire block, because this black facade is right where the new Whiskey Kitchen is opening soon. I got in touch with Gina just a couple of days ago. I asked her how things are going, and she says she's really excited because she has about 2 weeks to go. And we are definitely going to have a special coffee and headline shindig before she opens to the public, or so she claims. So here we go. I'm going to cross the street and I'm going to head into Versalles. As you know, we are on the side of Colonia La Avena, which is 1 block away from my house. And oh my God, there's a lot of discussion about the income, the tourism income. We'll get to your questions in a second after our walk. I want to let you know that I'm using a new camera to do the walk. So if the video is a little wobbly, is because at some points during the walk, I realized I was not carrying a sweat rag. So here I am with one hand disabled, the other hand holding the camera. And then I started schwitzing on the forehead, and I'm like, shit, what do I do? So a couple of times I had to somehow hold the camera with my bad hand and wipe the sweat off my forehead. I was not wearing a hat because I figured that's another complication. Anyhow, we are going to turn right. And while we're walking, I'm going to tell you some of the things that are happening in the walks moving forward. For starters, when we publicize these walks here on Coffee and Headlines, they will be at the usual resolution that we have been doing. But moving forward, we are going to upload the walks to YouTube in ultra high definition in 4K so that anyone is watching the walks on a big screen, you're going to be able to enjoy them on a big screen at crisp resolution. Something else that is new is in looking at similar walking tours done elsewhere in the world, many people publish a separate map of the route that they followed. So we are going to do that as well moving forward. And I'm going to show you um, what that map looks like at the end of the walk. So, yes, it is quite quiet when you're walking down Colonia Versalles, and I enjoy that very much. Um, so far, so good. At this intersection, you'll notice how Versalles has protected some of his trees. Check it out on the right hand side. Well, we turn left first to see if there's traffic coming. But look at those two trees. They're like right in the middle of the street. And I love the fact that they have not been torn down, despite the fact that they are on the middle of the street. That sign that says Vallarta quiere presidenta is a political sign that was there since before the election started for our mayor. And it has not been removed, not by the city, not by the owners of the property. We don't know why. And it's really not our business to know. But we're walking towards Francisco Medina Asensio. We're not going to make it that far, although we are going to enter. Um, we're going to enter Colonia Díaz Ordáz, and I'll show you when we do that. At this corner, that white building on the right-hand side used to be Plataforma 322, a great performance venue that unfortunately closed during the pandemic. It was a place where you could not only take dance lessons of many types, but you could also enjoy dance performance in theaters and music performances. The people that used to run it unfortunately had to leave because the owner apparently got a deal to for a better tenant, and then that deal backed down, and now the owner has this building that is unused, and that is a real shame. I think there's still a for rent sign on the door. And oh, the sign is gone, interestingly. And here's Mariscos Freddy, one of the great seafood restaurants in our colonia, in Versalles, that is. And here comes Freddy to say hello.
Me bajé a saludar a las hormigas.
Ah, bueno.
Aquí nomás paseando, Freddy.
Muy bien, gusto saludarte.
Ánimo.
We love this restaurant. The seafood is really great. Freddy received his training from Ocho Tos. No, I can't remember if it was Ocho Tostadas or Mariscos Tinos, one of the best, one of the good seafood chains here in Puerto Vallarta. And then he decided to open his own restaurant. Um, And of course, this is one of the restaurants that we have in Versalles for foodies in our map. And this is one of the few restaurants that we're going to see along this walk that are that are included in our map. Our next intersection is Calle Francia, which, if you haven't been in our neighborhood, is now widened and it's beautiful. And hopefully, it will bring much more prosperity to this particular street and to the area. Although I did notice, as you'll notice when I get to the very corner, that now that the street is wider and it has no cobblestones, a lot of cars are zooming right by it because there are no speed bumps. So I had to wait an unusual amount of time for some cars to take pity on my wobbly arm and let me cross the street. But the good thing is I was not in a major hurry. But here it is. This is what Calle Francia looks like today. The sidewalks have been expanded on both sides. And here I am, waiting to cross. And waiting. And that's Sushi In-House across the street, one of the nice sushi places in Colonia Versalles. I'm no sushi expert, but the attention and the service that we receive at this place is absolutely wonderful. They're always full, and they have a full bar, which is great. If you want to have a martini with your sushi, that's a great place to go. Doody. There are a lot of places around the city where you can buy things for your kitchen supplies. And although Cristalería del Pacífico is primarily geared towards restaurant owners, you can find some excellent things in that store that we were just passing. And as we cross the street at the corner, you will notice, and I made a point to point the camera down, that not only are we entering Colonia Díaz Ordáz, but you'll see how the trash collection problem throughout the city is not a pretty business. Look at this pile of trash that you can always see at this particular intersection. And it's not a pretty sight. But that's what the city has to work with. In the next block, you notice all these cars waiting. It's because they were picking up kids at a school that I'm going to walk right past. And we're also going to walk right past the Los Cuentos tap room, which we've mentioned a couple of times recently. If you want to try their artisan beer and some of their Oaxaca cuisine, it is right there. There is Los Cuentos tap room. And here's a school where they're calling the names of students with a loudspeaker. Doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. Then there's a seafood restaurant that I haven't tried yet. This one, they serve ceviches, but it is new to me. And at the next corner, we're going to take a right, but not without informing that there's a branch at the corner, all that orange painted side facade. This is a branch of Ocho Tostadas, the seafood restaurant that has been closed for some reason. We don't know why, but they just started working again, which is nice to know. And it's right here at this corner. And I would imagine that they serve pretty much the same food as some of the other branches. We tend to go to the branch that is by the stadium. That's the one that we've been going to because it's near. But this one is closer, so we're going to check it out sometime in the near future, of course. Now, the last time we walked down this street is Niza, we were surrounded by caca water. It was just not very nice. But we were curious about all the new work that has been done because this street has also been repaved. And one of the things that you'll notice about the street is that they built a bicycle path, and the city also built areas to put plants and such, but these have not been taken care of, and we don't know exactly when this was going to happen or if it's going to happen. I mean, I would imagine it will happen because they built them. But look at this particular spot right here. It's too narrow for cars, it's wide enough for bicycles, and there's no plants installed there. Meanwhile, cars continue to park as best as they can on that little stretch. And, it is what it is, I suppose. See, there you can see quite clearly there how it's not wide enough for cars to use it. So a lot of vehicle owners have been complaining and thinking that the city has a bad designer in charge, when what the city has is a bad communicator, because the city has not made any kind of announcement as to what's going on the street and when the plants are going to be installed and when this particular stretch is going to be officially named a bicycle path. And it would make sense that it is, because it connects right onto the main avenue Influvial, Grandes Lagos. So this would make a perfect bicycle path. And at this corner, we turn back onto Milan to return home. I was unprepared. I didn't have a sweat rag, and I was feeling schwitzy. And I just wanted to do a quick test with the gear. I see a couple of fun comments. Thank you, Brandy, for reaching out and letting us know that you love the restaurant. This is my neighborhood too, and I love it as well. At this church, one is tempted to ring the bell, but no, we shouldn't do that. And check out this little alleyway. There's a couple of hidden alleyways in Colonia Versalles and Díaz Ordáz as well that are very private. It's just one block long, dead-end streets, and I'm sure they are cute little places to live, or there would be a cute little house there to rent or own. Thank you, Suzanne. I was glad to. Well, I have been going out. Don't think that I've just been sequestered at home, but sharing the walking tours is. Oh, see, look, I got tilted there because I was trying to remove the schwitz from my forehead. While I was gracefully trying to hold my camera with the other hand. Anyhow, as we cross the street, we cross back into Colonia Versalles. The switch from one colonia to the other is completely unnoticeable, but I thought you should know. A lot of people think that Díaz Ordáz is part of Versalles, but it isn't. Brandy says, I believe the dead end street has a place that makes tamales en atole. Yes, that is correct. I saw the sign, although I haven't tried them yet. Now the next corner is Francia Street, and on the right hand side we'll see a number of taco stands. We haven't explored them all, at least not here on Coffee and Headlines, but we have explored, oh yes, the sound of construction everywhere. We have explored one of the taco stands, the one that is at the very corner, El Atrancón. This taco stand serves double duty because during the daytime they offer tacos de carnitas. They close shop at 3 o'clock, dismantle all their stuff, they throw their stuff in this van that you can see. The taco stand is right behind it. And then the taco stand takes another alternative personality during the evening. It becomes a grilled steak taco stand. But every day, the people that run it during the morning have to remove their stuff and leave it empty. Now we cross Francia Street again. The building on the right is called Condominios Francia. It's one of the it's a popular condo and rental unit. They have several towers and a beautiful pool in the middle. The apartments are a little on the tiny side, but they're very, very, very cute. I was considering living there at some point a few years ago. Looked at a couple of places. Another monstrosity can be seen on the left-hand side, going up. A lot of stories, if you ask me. I don't know how many they're supposed to go, and whether that construction is legally sanctioned. Maybe it's one of the ones that isn't. We don't know. Let's see what else. Oh, coming up on the right-hand side is Hacienda Mosaico, a well-known private home owned by an artist who teaches and organizes workshops on mosaic, on collage, on all kinds of artistic disciplines. And I've been meaning to knock on their door and visit the place because I hear it's a beautiful home and a beautiful place to learn a new craft and a new skill. Coming up in the next corner, on the left-hand side corner, that building that is green that you can see, that's where Noah's Cafe is located. And that is a very, very popular neighborhood restaurant here in Colonia Versalles. Christy comments that Hacienda Mosaico is huge. And yes, it is. Not only is it as wide as the entire block, but it is one of the nice, large properties from yesteryear here in our neighborhood. And there's Noah's Cafe under all those trees. Wolf's Veterinary is right next to it. It's a very popular vet. Diane, the feeling is mutual. It's nice to feel confident enough to do this. Again, my visit with the doctor is tomorrow, and I'm hoping that he'll give me a clean bill of health. I know that my arm is weak, and it'll take some physical therapy to get it back to normal, but at least I don't have to be out and about with the awareness that I only have one good hand. Keep your fingers crossed. And of course, we'll get to your comments as soon as we're done with the walk. We have 2 more blocks to go. Another wobble. Another tilt, rather, means that I was wiping my forehead. I'm bringing up something on my computer to show after the walk is over. Da, 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 da. There we go. This is what I'm looking for. We are approaching Ernesto's Good Grub. It's on the right-hand side, and of course, we love Ernesto's for their tortilla soup. And yes, Artisan Bakery is just down from Noah's. Thank you for that, Ted. And we are 1 block away from Francisco Villa Avenue again, which means that I'm getting back home, and we're getting to the end of this walk. And yes, please don't forget to thumbs up the walk if you see it on YouTube. And I will show you in a second the map that I mentioned earlier, and I'll show you the YouTube playlist where I have been putting the all the walks that we have been doing. And here we are at the end of the walk at the same intersection where we started, just across the street. And that was our surprise for the day. We are walking again. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling fine. And we're back in business. Yay. Let me do one of these. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the show notes will include a link to this map, which shows the route that I walked today. And I've put landmarks for all the businesses that I mentioned during the walk so that you can find them if you're curious. Look at all these wonderful restaurants that we walked past. And the path itself is also highlighted. And of course, this becomes part of our increasing collection of walks that you can find on YouTube. In the YouTube channel, we have a separate playlist where we have been uploading the walks by themselves, not as part of our morning broadcast. So these are the walks without this additional commentary. And all this is what, of course, we do to keep you connected. Thank you very much for indulging me a month of walking absence, but I was busy taking care of my arm. But I think walking out yesterday and then spending the time last night going through the new workflow with the new software and the new camera was the best thing that I could have done for myself yesterday. So now we take a look at your comments. I see there's a lot of good mornings as always. Gary says, good luck with your doctor's appointment tomorrow. Thank you very much. The appointment is tomorrow evening. If it goes well, I will stop at Costco on the way back and get a bottle of wine to celebrate. If it doesn't get well, if it doesn't go well, I will stop at Costco to get a bottle of wine to drink a lot of wine. More good mornings, more good mornings. Then there's your predictions that Puerto Vallarta brings in 70% of the revenue. As we saw, the revenue is a lot lower. Catherine says, are last year's stats a good representation of monies generated by tourism? I think they are as good as any other year because tourism affected the whole state, not just Puerto Vallarta. And of course, the numbers for last year and previous years are available for anyone that wants to find them online. Bucerias is, Rod Hardy says 30% isn't bad for one city since the other 70% is divided up between many other locations. Still, I agree with you, but still, it is not this ginormous number many of us imagined. Let's see what else. Yay, we were walking. Yes, we are. Then Jill says, the numbers are based on the actual reported income of the businesses in Puerto Vallarta. And, well, Jill, I'm not an expert on these matters, but I can tell you that the Mexico's Internal Revenue Service keeps track of this information, and the state secretary of tourism keeps track of this information. And the number comes from businesses, from hotels, from tour providers, from all kinds of places. Let's see what else. Oh, how sweet. Jenny's listening to Perla as we walk. That is awesome. Oh my goodness. I'm seeing all your wonderful comments about the walk. It's great to know that the walks are useful and fun and entertaining for you. I love making them, and I love walking. I need the exercise. I really do. The sky is such a beautiful blue. Yes, it's been gorgeous out lately. Oh, and thank you to those of you who sent me photographs of the moon rising over the mountains. 2 or 3 people did this yesterday when we commented that we had a great view from the bedroom window. And when I say we, I mean Luna and I. Are you still with me? Oh, she's gone. And I forgot to show you Luna sitting on the chair at the beginning of the broadcast. Let's see. Interesting comment from Robert. Thank you very much. Robert says they don't have the same menu as at the stadium. So that'll be fantastic because that makes me curious to see exactly what they serve at that Ocho Tostadas. Let's see. Lori has some very sweet words for Noah's and Wolf's, the vet clinic that I mentioned. Matthew says, what clean garbage-free streets? Does this mean that the bell system is working? Well, the bell system has not been announced for Versalles, and as you saw from early in the video, there are a number of intersections that need a lot of love as far as the trash collection system is concerned. Brandy says, I've been looking for a bakery in the neighborhood. Thank you. Well, there are several. There's Artisan Bakery and there's Au Croissant, not far. No, not Au Croissant. What's the name of the French bakery? Oh dear, I forget. But the French bakery people are not far from that point. And I think we have them listed in our map. Versailles for Foodies. It should be there. Let's see. Deborah says, I love these walks. I plan on moving there, and these are invaluable for the signing on neighborhoods. Thank you very much, Deborah. That's what they are there for. Moving forward, we will continue to show most, if not all, the walks here during the broadcast with more chit-chatty commentary and then putting them on their own on YouTube for people that are just really concerned with the walk, which makes a lot of sense. Let's see. Catherine comments, Versalles puts their garbage in the middle of crossroads in the evenings. Unfortunately, this is an odd behavior that is not exclusive to Versalles. There are a lot of intersections in other colonias that do the same, and it's just a weird habit. And this brings us to the end of our broadcast. Bill asks, when do we get to see the new equipment? Give me a couple of days, give me a few days just to make sure that we're happy with what we got. And I'll show you the new rig. It is actually quite funny looking, or I think it's quite funny looking. Anyhow, this is what we had for you today. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for being mindful of the fact that we are not advertiser supported beyond whatever comments we make here. And please remember that we are here because of you. So if you've received good news, if you have learned of a new place, if you have left the broadcast with a smile on your face, if you've discovered a new place to eat, a new place to visit, a new shop to shop, keep that in mind as we move forward, because everything we do is possible thanks to your kind contributions and your memberships, which we get on a regular basis, and we are so very grateful for that. Oh, it is Au Croissant. Thank you very much, Brandy. And you're looking for Mexican style instead of European. Well, if you go to Versalles for Foodies, there's a Mexican style bakery right on Francisco Villa that serves whole wheat, that bakes whole wheat bread. It is like 2 blocks away from where we were. So pursue our Versalles for Foodies map. You'll find information on where to find it in the FAQ. You'll find the FAQ on the website. And that's what we have for today. Have an awesome Thursday, and I'll see you again tomorrow.